Story time about how my boyfriend was seeing another girl behind my back. So a little background information, I was living with my dad and I had just started a new school, and I began really good friends with this group of kids. And in our friend group, there was this boy who we're going to call Alex, and him and I hit it off like right away. We had been talking for 2 months. And by the way, during this whole time, his friends were telling me how much he loved me and how much he wanted to be with me. So eventually, him and I started dating. And of course, like any other tragic love story, I had to move far away because I had to go live with my mom, blah, 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 blah. But since I would visit my dad for the holidays, him and I would still be able to see each other sometimes, which is pretty good for a long distance relationship, especially when you're in school. So I told him about how I had to move, and he was really sad that he said that I can trust him. Red flag number 1, because why would you say that in the first place? There should be no reason on why I have to, quote, trust you to be loyal when I'm away. So like I said, I told him that we were gonna have to do long distance, and he was sad that he said that he could trust me. And like I said before, why the hell would I have to trust you? Because you should just be loyal in general, duh. So I'm like, hey, I want to spend time with you before I leave. Can we hang out? And he was like, oh, sorry, I have plans, but we can hang out later tonight. So I was like, okay, whatever, and a few hours go by, I never did a text from him, or a call, nothing. So I text him and he's like, sorry, I forgot. So I'm really sad right now, but I forgave him. But click notes here, ladies, if he wanted to, he would have canceled his plans if he really wanted to see you. Anyway, so I moved and fast forward 2 to 3 weeks. And Alex and I literally had only been texting, no calls, nothing like that. So I'm talking to one of his friends, and one of his friends tells me that he's been talking to this other girl. And he's been telling everybody that he's been wanting to break up with me for weeks because he wants to date friends. So like I said, I was talking to his friend, and his friend said that he's been talking to this girl for 2 to 3 weeks about the time that I've been gone. And he's been telling everybody about how he wants to break up with me for her. So of course I'm sad and crying, and I confront him, and he says, oh, she's just a friend, blah, blah, blah. So I press the issue, and then he tells me that he lost feelings for me weeks ago. And that the reason why he didn't tell me was because he didn't want to hurt my feelings, yet he led me on for 2 to 3 weeks. Like, how does that work, Alex? How? Anyway, so I blocked him because there's no way in hell that I'm gonna keep talking to a guy that was making fun of me with his friends and telling everybody around him that he wanted to break up with me. That's embarrassing. Story how about why I will never let my sister pet sit for me ever again. So a little background information, I was 18 and it was the summer before my freshman year in college. And it was towards the end of the summer, so I decided that I wanted to take a vacation with a few of my girlfriends before we all went off to the different colleges that we were going to. And I have a lot of pets. I have 4 hamsters, 2 snakes, a tarantula, 2 birds, and 1 fish. So I asked her if she could watch all of them. She said yes, so I wrote her out a schedule of when they need to be fed, and I wasn't even going to be gone a week, so it would be pretty easy because I already cleaned all their tanks and everything like that. And I wasn't worried at all because I trusted my sister. She had 2 dogs and a cat, so I thought she was going to be fine. I called her the first 2 days, everything seemed to be going well, and I called her on the 4th day, and she didn't answer the phone. So I called my mom, asked her if she could get a hold of her, and my mom said that she spent the 2 days at her boyfriend's house. So like I said, I called my mom asking if she could get a hold of her, and she said that she spent the last 2 days at her boyfriend's house. The worst part was, my sister was the only one with a key to my apartment. So my sister calls me the next day and she's like, hey, sorry, like I was at my boyfriend's house. And I was like, who fed the animals? And she was like, well, I just put enough in their cages so that way they would be fine for like 3 days. She was like, don't worry, I'll sleep over there tonight to make sure they're okay. So I'm like having a fucking panic attack right now. Anyway, so fast forward, I get home early in the morning and my sister's sleeping on the couch, but my sister brought over her animals too. So I wake my sister up and I'm like, hey, like, how are all the animals? She's like, oh, they're fine. And then we walk into the kitchen and the fucking bird cage is open and my birds are missing and her cats are nowhere to be found. So now I'm freaking the fuck out. So then I found a trick on the rest of my animal to, like they said, we walk into the kitchen and the bird cage is open and my birds are nowhere to be found and neither is her cat. So at that point, I went to check on all of my other animals. Thankfully, the steaks were fine, so I thought to check on my tarantula, and he's missing. So now I grabbed my sister's dogs, locked them in my room, and I went to go check on my hamsters. Yeah, she forgot to feed them the whole week because one of them ate the other one. So at this point, I'm having like a mental fucking breakdown, and I'm moving all the furniture in the living room and everything like that. and we lift up the couch, and we see her cat bolt out from under the couch. After that, I looked under the couch, and my bird is literally torn into pieces under the fucking couch. A few days later, she texted me and she was like, hey, like, I feel so bad, like, let me buy you a new bird and a new tarantula. And to this day, 2 years later, I still don't know what happened to them. Storytime about how my stepdad made my mom choose between him and my brothers. Still a little background information, I was 13 years old and in 7th grade, and I had 2 older brothers, Josh and Alex, who were twins and they were both 4 years older than me. Whenever I was 3, my dad left my mom for his dentist, and we never saw him again because he decided to start a whole new family with them. Now, because of that, my older brothers always felt like they had a specific role in my family, especially because the dice that my mom brought home, they would only last a week. Well, finally, my mom met this guy who was really nice, and she decided that she was going to get married to him, but he despised my older brothers. Mainly because before he moved in with us, my mom would not depend on him for anything. Anything that needed taken care of around the house, my brothers would do it. And we didn't have too much money while this guy was loaded. Like the one time my mom and this guy who were in a car, Jerry, got into a fight. So like I said, my mom and Jerry got into this one fight. It is a super long story, but pretty much all that Jerry realized was that he did not have authority over my mother. And she didn't have to depend on him for anything because my brothers would always be there for her. Now, Alex was more of the shy one. Meanwhile, Josh was super hot-headed and couldn't deal with anybody's bullshit. And fast forward, my mom and Jerry lived in together. That's when we realized that Jerry was super abusive. And Jerry knew that he could pick on Alex wherever he wanted because he wasn't going to do shit. And most of the time, Josh wasn't home because he literally hated Jerry. The one time Alex came home and he did really bad on this one test. And Jerry was like, oh, he needs to learn discipline, blah, blah, blah. The next day, we all were sitting down for breakfast and we saw Alex from downstairs with a black eye. And that's whenever Josh flicked the fuck out. He grabbed Jerry, ripped him across the fucking table, and threatened him with a kitchen knife. And my mom called the cops. So like I said, he said he needed to teach some discipline, so he literally beat the shit out of Alex. And we all didn't know until he came downstairs the one morning for breakfast. And that's whenever Josh let the hell out. He threatened Jerry with a knife. After that, my mom called the cops. We didn't really do anything but try to de-escalate the situation. But after that, Jerry called a family meeting down to the kitchen table. And he was like, I will not deal with this level of disrespect in this house. He was like, you need to choose between me or them. She was like, well, I'm not going to choose between me or my kids. And he was like, well, then you need to choose then leaving the house. They're about to be 18. They can leave and get their own place. So my mom ended up choosing Jerry because Jerry had a lot of money. And my brothers weren't really that mad about it because it got them out of the house. And my mom would send them a lot of money every month. And Jerry never knew about it. But now instead of him being abusive towards my brothers, he's way more abusive towards my mom. Story time, I was the toxic best friend. A little background information, I was 16 and a sophomore in high school. And at the beginning of the year, I met this girl who we're gonna call Riley. Riley and I hit it off straight away. Like a week after knowing each other, she knew everything about me and I knew everything about her. Well, then she tells me about this guy that she's talking to, who we're gonna call Jay. She said that they would hook up sometimes and he would text her sometimes. But she said that I couldn't tell anybody because he said that it had to be a secret. So I tried telling her that he sounded like a fuckboy, but she decided she was gonna do whatever she wanted. And I was like, okay. So fast forward to the end of the year, he adds me on Snapchat. Okay, don't get me wrong, he was really hot, but I had my own thing going on, so I really didn't pay that much attention to him. And I thought he'd need to add me on Snapchat to be like, oh my god, I really like your best friend. And then I also was caught between a rock and a hard place. Do I tell my best friend that the guy that she likes just added me on Snapchat? Or do I lie to her? Well, I was gonna tell her until I got a Snapchat. So like I said, I didn't know whether I should tell her that he added me on Snapchat or if I should. And I was going to until I got a Snapchat from him saying, hey, you're really pretty. I think we should talk sometime. So I ended up telling her about it because I felt really bad. And she was like, this is like, can't trust girls, like, you need to unadd him right now, like, fucking block him. And I'm like, I didn't even do anything, like, what the fuck? So whatever, I end up blocking him, it's fine, until he texts me one day. And he's like, hey, it's Jay, I think it blocked me on Snapchat, LOL. And him and I had talked a little bit in school and I kind of started to like him. Well, fast forward, him and I ended up hooking up a few times. We were talking a lot and he hadn't been texting Riley as much. Well, the one night while I was sleeping over her house, my phone was going off a lot. and I didn't think to delete any of the messages. So like I said, I was sleeping over her house the one night, my phone was blowing up, and she knows my password and everything, and I stupidly did not delete the text messages between Jay and I kid you not, I wake up to a slap across the face. It felt like she slapped me with her fist, and it looked like it too because I had a black eye. So I woke up and she's like, what the fuck? Like, I hate you so much. Like, why would you do this? And I look down and she has my phone right in her hand on the text messages with Jay. And I ended up feeling really bad because she started crying, saying that, like, I knew that she liked him a lot. And I also knew the reason why he wasn't texting her as much. So then she ran downstairs and she told her mom. And the next thing I know, I had her mom, and her 3 other sisters screaming at me. And then I got blocked by Jay because she wasn't supposed to know and she leaked his nudes. Story tell about how my cat got me grounded. And yes, I mean my literal pet cat got me grounded. So a little background information, I was 16 and I was a freshman in high school, and my parents were extremely strict. Now, of course, there was the usual no hanging out with boys, no hanging out with anybody on the weekdays. Well, my parents took it a step further. Actually, no, they took it like 10 miles further. I'd have my phone taken every night at 6 o'clock, even on the weekends, and my friends were only allowed to come over for 8 hours exactly on the weekends. And they had to have a ride to and from my house. Well, usually my friend group and I were never invited to any kind of parties, but this one girl who had just moved to our school, she was throwing a huge party and she invited everybody, not just the popular kids. So obviously my friends begged me to go. They were like, please, like, we can sneak over there. Your parents fit a bit early anyways. So like I said, my best friends are begging me to come out of the house. They're like, listen, like, do whatever you have to come to this party. This is the first and probably only party that we will ever be invited to in our entire lives. So at this point, I start planning to sneak out of my house. So my parents usually go to sleep at around 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and they usually wake up at 5:30 in the morning. But since this party was on a Friday, obviously my parents aren't gonna wake up at that time. They usually wake up around like maybe 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. So this gave me a perfect amount of time to do what I needed to do, come back and not get caught. But just in case, I made sure to turn off any alarms on their phone, but I also had to make sure that I had a foolproof plan to get out of the house and get back in. Now, of course, I didn't throw through any of the doors in the house because of the stupid ring doorbell, but there was one thing that did work in my favor. That my dad had been slowly but surely installing the window security alarms, but he hadn't made it to my room yet, so I was good to sneak out of my window. And thankfully, my window was on the first floor. Like I said, I had a foolproof plan to escape, okay? I was going to get out the window and I was going to just crawl back in and act like nothing ever happened. But there was an issue with this, okay? My dad was supposed to fix my window because I somehow broke it. I don't even know how. But anytime that I do to put my window up, it just literally falls. And not only does it fall, it knocks when it falls. And obviously, you can guess what'll happen if it does fall. I will be able to get back in the house and I will somehow have to get in the house without my parents knowing, which is literally impossible. So I will be grounded for the rest of my life. So I was gonna put a book between the window and the windowsill, but I didn't want it falling and making a lot of noise, so I decided to put a pillow there. So I sat down to my house at 11 o'clock and I had the best time of my life, probably because that's the first and only time that I will ever be invited to any party. But fast forward, I do, and I ran to the side of the house to get into my window, and of course the pillow is missing. And I'm looking around to see where the pillow went in my room, and of course my cat is laying on it on the floor. So I tried messing with the window, and then all of a sudden my parents walked in my room and saw me. Straight here about how my boyfriend cheated on me with his best friend's sister. So a little background information, I was 15 and in 9th grade, and we're gonna call my boyfriend Alex. Alex and I had been together for 6 months, and at the beginning of our relationship, his best friend, who we're to call Caleb, him and I literally despised each other. But Alex would always want all 3 of us to hang out, so we decided that we had to get along. So we decided to keep it civil only when we were with Alex. Well, fast forward, all of a sudden, Caleb's grown-ass sister starts hanging out with Caleb and Alex 24/7. And it was weird because she was like a senior hanging out with a freshman. But I didn't think anything of it at first. Well, then out of nowhere, while I was at school like a week later, Alex says that him and I need to have a talk. So we start walking away from Caleb, and as we're walking away, Caleb looks at me and gives me like this good luck look. That he told me that he wanted us to take a break. So like I said, he tells me that we need to talk, and then he goes, I think we should take a break. Like, what do you mean take a break? Well, funny thing, throughout this whole break, he was still being touchy with me, still acting like we were in a whole ass relationship. And the whole time I was acting like I was fine, so that way I didn't want him to feel bad for me and felt like he have to get back together with me. And he was acting like nothing happened. Like I said, it was getting to the point where all my friends had started asking if him and I were back together. And I had to be like, no, we're not back together yet. Well, then Friday rolls around, aka 2 weeks later, and he tells me that he misses me. Shocker. So then he said he wanted to get back together. I said yes, obviously, because I still really liked him and I was a dumbass not to see the red flags. Well, now when I was second time around of us being together, I started to notice the first flags that I didn't notice in the beginning of our relationship. Like the one time he went to the mall with his friends and he gave these girls his Snapchat. He wasn't gonna tell me about it, but then his friends told me. Like I said, I started noticing red flags. Well, when I had confronted him about the Snapchat thing, he told me that he felt bad if he didn't give it to them because he didn't want to be mean. Another red flag is when he would never ever let me touch his phone. Like if he even saw my eyes look at his phone for 0.2 seconds, he would grab it real quick. Anyways, back to him getting with Caleb's sister. When we got back together after our break, this one girl came up to me and she was like, hey, I have to tell you something. I didn't think it was gonna be anything about my relationship with Alex, but here we go. He broke up with you to hook up with some other girl. So immediately I'm fuming, I go up to him and I'm like, did you break up with me to go and hook up with another girl? He goes, that's in the past, why are you mad about it? Like, mood broken up. I mean, he thought it was okay just to break up whenever you want to go do shit with someone else. Apparently she said that they could do stuff if we broke up, but they ended up finding out that she does this to all of her little brother's friends. So right after that, how I came out to my homophobic parents. So a little background information, I was 14 or 15 and I was a freshman in high school. And all throughout middle school, I had been questioning my sexuality because I didn't really know what I was into, as do most kids my age. Well, due to this, I was bullied in school because people would always ask me, oh, do you like boys or girls? And when I would say that I don't know, they would call me flurs. So anytime that I got into a relationship, I would keep it a secret and the only person that knew was my best friend. But the summer before my freshman year, I got together with my current boyfriend, and we're gonna call him Andrew. Andrew and I met through Snapchat through a mutual friend. We started FaceTiming all the time, and we found out that we lived in the same area, so we started hanging out all the time as well. Well, eventually, him and I started dating, and after about 3 or 4 weeks, we took our relationship a little bit further, and his parents knew that he was gay and that we were in a relationship, but my parents, on the other hand, did not know. So, like I said before, my boyfriend and I had decided to take our relationship a step further, and his parents knew that he was gay and that him and I were in a relationship, but my parents, on the other hand, did not know. They just thought that him and I were best friends that hung out every single day. But yeah, my parents think that doing the nasty before marriage is a sin, being gay is a sin. Pretty much doing anything is a sin. So the one day I was in my room watching RuPaul's Drag Race. By the way, I don't know if I pronounced that right. And then my mom walks in and she says, I don't want you watching these men in wigs and heels, acting like females, blah, 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 that's a sin. Like, Mom, go get a fucking life. Thanks. And then she says, if I find out you're a part of this, you're gonna need God and Jesus to protect you from me. So my boyfriend and I are in complete shock. Well, then I finally decided that I was going to grow some balls and tell my mom that I was a part of that community. So like I said, my mom was like, if you're a part of this community, you're gonna need God and Jesus to protect you from me. And I was really upset. I started crying and my boyfriend, he's like comforting me. I finally decided to grow some balls and tell her that I was in fact a part of the community. Well, I ended up getting my ass beat. They also told me that they were gonna take me to a priest to get an exorcism. So I basically moved out of my parents' house and I moved into my uncle's house, who is a part of the LGBTQ community, and he's in full support of my boyfriend and I's relationship. I blocked both of my parents and I haven't talked to them ever since I moved out. Well, that's a lie. The only time that I did talk to them was to wish them a happy Mother's Day and happy Father's Day. But other than that, I decided that I want to be happy, and to be happy, I had to keep them out of my life. Story here about how this girl and her boyfriend beat me up. So a little background information, I was in the 11th grade and I was 17 years old. And in the summer, my friend and I went to go and watch fireworks for the 4th of July at this park. And most of the people there went to a completely different school. But we ended up meeting this group of guys and I was really vibing with the one guy who was there. He was super cute, super chill, and was on a long grade. And I just want to put this out there, I did not think to ask that he had a girlfriend because he was being super flirtatious and just really wasn't acting like he had a girlfriend. I literally just hate how we have to ask people if they're in relationships now because they don't want to be honest or loyal, and then we look like the bad guys because they were dishonest. Anyway, so her and I started to hang out a lot, and he really likes me, I really like him, and we went to this football game after school, and we ended up doing the nasty. After that, I'm in the bleachers with my friends, and one of my friends tells me, yeah, he has a girlfriend. So she couldn't have told me this before we did the nasty. Anyways, so like I said, hey, when I take a nasty for football in, and then I go into the bleachers with my friends, and she tells me he has a girlfriend. But I'm not gonna lie, at this point, we had already been talking for 2 months, and I really didn't care because I liked him and I wasn't just gonna turn my feelings off. First of all, I do not owe that girl any loyalty. And number two, we were already intimate with each other, so I don't know what can make this situation worse than it already was. I mean, I confronted him about it, and he told me that he was gonna break up with her for me. But I believed him. I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna wait for him to break it off with her, and I'm still gonna talk to him. So eventually, you literally made me wait for like 2 more months. So what did I do? I told his girlfriend everything. Could I lie? It's not even that I wanted to be a good person. It was literally just to spite him. Like, yeah, your man wants to be with me. He don't want you. This is the text messages of him telling me that he was gonna break up with you. That day, he called me and he was like, hey, do you wanna hang out? And I understood that he did not break up and even lasted to his girlfriend. So like I said, I told his girlfriend everything about how he didn't want her. I sent her the receipt and everything. And then she has the audacity to tell me I'm disgusting, I'm this, I'm that, saying that I'm gross for even doing anything with him. I should have known that he had a girlfriend. I should have told him off. Like said, your man did not mention you once. He didn't even mention you as an ex-girlfriend, so put the blame on him, not me. So later that day, he invites me over, and I was shook because I at least thought that he was gonna bring it up and be like, why did you text my girlfriend? So I thought that maybe she was one of those girls where she's like, gee, my man is never wrong. I know he was in it sometime to him because I don't want him to bring it up with me, and it just wasn't his fault. So fast forward, I get to his house. I usually just walk in because I've been over there so many times. Well, she beside walking the door at him and his girlfriend start wailing on me. I am up with the puberty and rinse, but I also ended up pregnant with his child. His family thinks so he should be with me since I'm having his kid. She defined to stay with him, so she comes to every prenatal place.